Don't you love it? A pop-up, just when you're starting to get ready to teach a lesson. So, on Tuesday, I asked you to watch this video. It was on my neighbor and I running the sawmill. I'm starting off with talking about trees and, hey, look at white oak logs. These were actually harvested last, I want to say like late September or early September, somewhere in there. So that backlog is actually a red oak that's been sitting a little bit. He'll probably get cut up into firewood. It just never happened. So I asked you to watch this and just kind of pay attention for details. Um, there's a lot going on, and I know it was a 30-minute video. I'm trying to fast forward a little bit. I know it was a 30-minute video, and you're probably saying to yourself, like, "Oh my gosh, like really? You wanted us to go and watch all 30 minutes?" Yeah, yeah. One student commented, "Mr. McMullen, please turn your phone sideways." I'm sorry, I didn't realize it would take that real narrow video. Uh, but is what it is. So up here, the pole barn that this person has set up, it's nice because they've got the lean-to off the side, and the sawmill sits underneath it, um, and it just keeps the shade on you because otherwise it'd get way too hot there. Here we go with the yawns again. And I do some talking. The biggest thing you'll notice is we're both wearing hearing protection because that motor's like a 20 some horse motor and it just blares. Um, the one thing I actually want to do is somehow reroute the exhaust so the exhaust goes up and not out. Right now it goes straight out to the side, which isn't a big deal when we're running it, but if you have to walk around when it's running, you get a puff of exhaust and it's not good. So if you haven't watched this video, watch it. There's a lot of little things going on. When we load the actual log here, you'll see it's all hand signals. We can't talk. We both have hearing protection in, and you'll notice I get back out of the way because that sawmill probably weighs 1,000 pounds, and it just went dunk because there was that much momentum off that log. You'll notice too, I never put my body anywhere between the rails or anything. If that thing rolled, that log right there probably weighs 1,000 pounds easily. So there's a lot of weight there. Right now, what I'm doing is setting up the dogs. They're kind of waiting to see. Excuse me. Kind of waiting to see. We're both dirty. I mean, I think that day we started at 9 o'clock in the morning. We got up, had breakfast. Everything was ready to go. We started at 9, and we didn't finish until 5:36. I think we finally called it. You'll see too that pole I'm using is called a cant hook. Weird. I know. Isn't it called canting a log the first few cuts you're going to make? Yes. So this is exactly how our sawmill at school operates. I'll do a video of that one too. I have it here at my house. The goal is to get it set up to cut up some ash. Excuse me. So right now all we're doing is just basically getting it, so it's going to cut straight. Well, I mean, this way doesn't really matter. We try to get it straight, but the biggest thing is just to get it locked in because that first cut, if it's moving all around, that could be really bad. The thing about it, it's like being in a bandsaw, at school, and you're taking your board and going like this, it's not going to work. So the dogs are getting locked in. There's two dogs here, there's two dogs on the other side. And then it's just a matter of pushing it. And it's not hard to push. You can push it with one hand. You can see the sawdust is raining out. And even though that sawdust is actually wet because the tree is still green, there's no way it's going to dry out from last August, September. I don't remember. It was late summer. But keep in mind, too, this water tank up here is lubing that blade and also helping throw that sawdust out. You can see right there, I opened up the water a little bit because it just wasn't coming out like I wanted it to. It should just be a real small, steady stream. But I mean, you can see the dust flying already, in here. And it was a little windier that day. But we'll fast forward through here. Notice the tractor comes in. So the first cant, that thing was heavy. Normally we just leave the tractor just parked a little bit out of view from what you're seeing here. And as we cut cants off, and we screw up that log, we just throw the can that's on there, and then you can't see it, but around the corner there's a huge burn pile that, yeah. Now some people save that wood, they cut it up. Every time I do these, I gotta shut off the light up above me, and it makes me tired. But anyways, um, we'll burn that at the end of the year. Some people actually save the canned wood; they'll use it for firewood. We don't. It's There's very little wood on it. Actual, a lot of it's just bark. We did saw up a walnut later in the day, and that bark was seriously like this thick. So these slices here that we're making, there you get some extra wood out of them. The goal is to get it squared up the best you can, so that on that final time you turn it, you're just cutting boards and there's no bark left on it. So you kind of got to do the imaginary, what would the square look like on the outside of that log? So this wood here, this slice we're cutting, this is still a good piece of wood. We'll save it, but we're gonna have to go back with a circular saw when it gets into the wood shop and cut a straight edge on it in order to actually use it, because you can't join all that bark off. You'd be there for days and days and days joining. So it's still usable, but you gotta work for it a little bit more. The other thing to note too with what you're seeing, just kind of taking a peek here, reliving some memories, I guess. The other thing too is you'll notice it's tedious going through, raising up, coming back, going through, raising up, going back, going through, raising back. And I think right here we actually end up taking a break. We get some gas and so forth in a little bit. Rolling this thing was not easy. And I mean, I apologize right there. There's probably a little bit more tummy than I wanted to see, but you just got to do what you got to do. But yeah, well, I'm not going to sit here and talk about this the whole time. The pile of lumber we have drying, you can see it back there behind the picnic table. The camera moved a little bit there. Wonder if the wind blew it. I don't know. Yeah, that was a nice board there too. But take a look at this video. And then, so what I'm going to have you do, and there'll be one more roll after this one. I don't know if we actually get it in here or not. Yep, cut one more. Look at how much lumber is there. That's a nice piece of lumber. Yeah, this is the final roll. Yeah. So these ones, we'll let it play for a second and we'll talk. So this final roll is nice, and the previous roll is easy too, because when it actually does finally roll, you don't have to worry about getting it up square against the right side dogs. Just you let it drop, because you know it's going to be square because you've already squared up the other side. But I mean, look at it. There's two grown people there, and it's taken all of her boom. You know as soon as it hits, it's bonk. Put the can hook back. Make sure it's slid over. There's some really small dogs built into those rails. And we kick down the tall dogs because you don't want to hit them with the saw. That would be bad. Um, Somebody asked me too. I seen a message, McMullen, how long does one of those blades last? We changed out blade once that day. We saw it about 7 of those white oaks, and then the last couple white oaks we did, and the walnut we had put a fresh blade on. There's two ways that you know the blade's getting bad. Number one, it takes a lot more energy to push that saw through. This should only be a one-hand operation where two people are pushing with one hand, nice and steady. The second, like see right there, it looks like I'm pushing a little bit harder. I think after this one, we changed out the blade. I'm almost positive we did, because it was just a little bit harder to push. The other thing too is you'll actually see the lumber start to get these waves in it, because the saw blade isn't tracking straight because it's getting dull. So it's actually going like this. And you don't want that in your lumber. You don't want it to go from 1 inch to, 3/4 back up to 1 inch. So we actually had changed it out after this. What dulls out the blade? Well, obviously just using it's going to dull it out. They're not going to last forever. However, two things really speed up dulling these things out. Number one is foreign objects. I mean, I know this is a no-brainer common sense thing, but nails, screws, chunks of metal, old dog chain tie downs that people put in trees and stuff like that, you hit those with the blade, it'll go through them, but it just ruins the blade. Oh, we're on to the next video already. The Massey Ferguson tractor. Um, Don't watch that. Well, maybe watch it. It's you can see what's on my playlist. Old tractors and machinery. Weird. But yeah, hitting foreign objects, and you don't find that too often with the trees we're taking out here. I mean, it's a big forest. There's nobody's gonna put a dog run out in the middle of the woods. That'd be just really weird. Uh, what about bullets, Mr. McMullen? Maybe somebody was hunting and you hit, a bullet. I've never hit one. We have found boards in the wood shop that have had bullets in them. Nothing happens. Most of the bullets that you're going to be finding are not. They're a non-ferrous metal, meaning they're not magnetic. They're a soft metal. So lead and copper. The saw blades, the planer blades, all that stuff goes through the lead, no problem. The other thing that dulls out these saw blades on like the mills is when you have the log sitting up directly on the ground, they'll pick up dirt on the bark, and that dirt dulls them out. So you'll see some mills will actually have somebody power washing the logs before they get them sawed. People are like, why are you cleaning the logs? Or like in a professional mill, they take all the bark off. It's not because they don't want to cut through the bark. The bark has dirt on it typically, and that dirt dulls the blades really quick. I mean, it's like taking a knife and going into the ground going like this. It's not going to be as sharp. So on this one here, what you didn't see is that pile. Well, maybe you saw at the beginning of the movie. I don't remember. You can find out. I can rewind it. We have that ability, right? Um, you'll notice, see these? They're not sitting on the ground. They're sitting on another smaller log to keep them up off the ground. We don't want to get them dirty, believe it or not. I know it sounds weird, but it dulls blades. So some little things like that. McMullen, how often do you guys go through water? Oh, good gosh. Every 3 trees, that 5-gallon jug gets refilled. We have 4 of those, and we only went through like 2.5 of them the whole day. The other ones, what do you do with them? There's no electricity or water out at this barn. So what we end up doing is we mix up like one of those like little household like Roundup sprayers to go around your yard. There's one of those dedicated for just water. We take the excess water, put it in there, and then that's what we use to clean off the machine and get all the sawdust off of it at the end of the day. It actually works really well. McMullen, what do you do with all this sawdust? There was 2 tractor loads of sawdust. So we take the forklifts off the tractor, put a bucket on. And there's actually 2 buckets worth. What we do is we just take it, find a low spot in one of the trails, fill it in, and next thing you know, a few years later, it becomes dirt and works out fine for the trails. Temp that day was actually really nice. It was low 50s, high 40s, which doesn't sound like much, but what we've been having up to then was really nice to have. How long does the fuel last in there? Oh, we only refilled once the whole day. So it's pretty economic. You can see there the neighbor, he's pulling off as much of the saw or the bark as he can. That's loose because again, you just don't want to take a chance of dulling out a blade. If the bark's coming off, get it out of there. The sawmill that the school that we run for the school, um, it's up on a trailer. The sawmill actually, I like ours better. It's a little bit more. I don't know. The throttle on it and everything it's right there for the operator to use. Where this one, the throttle's a little bit off to the side and so forth. This can handle a bigger log. I think this is built a little bit heavier duty than what we have for the school. But I think user features on ours I like a little bit more and the ease of use. The big difference is this whole track and carriage and everything are on the ground. Ours was on the ground when we first bought it, but Mr. Tim Ramville donated a trailer that I think he found out in the back 40, and we converted it so that it's mobile. It's kind of nice because now we can take it around. Is the trailer pretty? No. Does it look like a pile of scrap metal with some wheels? Essentially, it's got paint on it. We repainted it, but we didn't put a lot of time or effort into it because it's just a sawmill trailer. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think the axle on it was an old Chevy or Ford front end that they had tie rods that they literally welded so the wheels would stay straight, and they made a trailer out of it. It works. So here's what your goal is for this week. Your actual assignment will be posted after the video link on Google Classroom. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me through Remind or email me. I'm thinking next week we're going to actually host a Zoom meeting. I'm not doing them all the time because I've talked to other teachers and they said that it's like 30 students will get on. Well, probably not even that many, unfortunately, they were saying, but it's just, and nobody knows what to say. They just want to talk about things not related. So if we get on, I want to talk about what have you been doing? What have you been doing, physically around your house, if you're working on projects, I picked up one crazy log splitter today. Uh, you'll probably be able to see it in the channels coming up pretty soon for Metal Shop. I'm gonna do something with it, but it's I call it a Franken splitter. It's somebody was the king of cobble and made this thing, but for what I paid, it was like, yes, I must have this. I'm pretty sure you could split like a 50-gallon drum in half with this thing. That's how big it is. But eh. All right, have a great. I don't know what you're doing this. I'm gonna say evening. It's evening right now, but have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. This weekend is supposed to be nice. Stay safe, stay home, and hopefully we'll see everybody sooner than later. I gotta remember how to hit the end button. Ha ha ha, this is where you're laughing, going McMullen. Oh, there it is.